Venezuela is a country defined by headlines of economic collapse, hyperinflation, shortages, and ruin. But hidden inside this chaos is a thriving $500 million business empire that almost no one talks about. It's not oil and it's not gold, it's baseball. While the rest of the economy crumbled, the baseball talent pipeline didn't just survive, it evolved into a lean, high-efficiency money machine. Most people assume that economic crisis kills business, but in this case, it stripped away the fat and supercharged the ROI. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how this underground economy generates $500 million a year, rising from the ashes. To understand where this money comes from, you have to look at what actually happened when the infrastructure collapsed. A few years ago, the political and economic instability got so bad that Major League Baseball effectively pulled the plug. 23 out of 30 MLB teams shut down their official academies. They packed up their equipment, locked the gates, and moved their primary operations to the Dominican Republic, leaving behind empty shells of stadiums. In any other industry, that is a death sentence, but here it created a massive power vacuum that was immediately filled by a network of independent entrepreneurs known as bus cones. These aren't your typical corporate scouts wearing team polos. Bus cones are independent trainer agents who operate entirely outside the corporate safety net. When the big teams left, these guys realized they could develop talent cheaper, faster, and more aggressively than a foreign bureaucracy ever could. This effectively privatized the entire development system overnight. Under the old corporate model, an MLB team might spend over $50,000 a year per player on pristine facilities, nutritionists, and English classes. The bus cones stripped that operation down to the absolute bone. They started operating on dirt fields with makeshift equipment, spending maybe $1,000 per player annually. This drastic reduction in overhead completely changed the unit economics of the industry. It turned baseball development into a high-stakes venture capital game. A bus cone invests his own personal cash to feed, house, and train a teenager. If that kid signs a contract, the bus cone takes a massive cut, often significantly higher than standard agent fees. It's a high-risk, high-reward model that cleaned up the inefficiencies of the old system. It forced a survival of the fittest market dynamic where only the absolute best prospects attracted capital. But there is a psychological factor here that drives the valuation even higher. The economic desperation in the country created a different breed of prospect. These aren't kids playing for a hobby. They are playing for the financial survival of their entire extended family. That pressure cooker produces a level of hunger and discipline that comfortable corporate academies struggle to replicate. The crisis accidentally filtered the talent pool for extreme mental toughness. So you have significantly lower development costs, higher stakes motivation, and a decentralized network of scouts combing every slum and rural village because their own livelihood depends on finding the next asset. That is how you get higher returns on investment in the middle of a depression. This system isn't just a theory, it is producing massive checks right now. You might be thinking this is all just theoretical economics, but the proof is walking around right now in the form of teenagers signing contracts that are worth more than most CEOs make in a decade. We have to look at the specific players and academies that are turning this concept into hard currency. The headline story here is Luis Hernandez from the 2026 international class. This kid is the perfect example of the system working exactly as designed. He didn't come up through a fancy corporate-sponsored complex with catered meals and air-conditioned dorms. He came up through the grind. When he signed that $5 million deal with the Giants, it wasn't just a win for him. It was a validation of the entire independent pipeline. That $5 million represents an immediate, massive injection of foreign capital into a local ecosystem that is desperate for it. But Luis is just the tip of the spear. To understand the scale, you have to look at the factories producing these players. Look at the Royalty Baseball Academy in Maracay. This isn't just a couple of coaches hitting fungos, it is a sophisticated asset management firm disguised as a baseball school. They have built a projected $10 to $20 million ecosystem around developing talent. They identified the market inefficiency, the lack of corporate investment, and capitalized on it by creating a private infrastructure that rivals what the MLB teams used to have. They are taking raw assets, adding value through intense coaching and nutrition, and selling them at a premium to American buyers. Then you have the Future Stars Baseball Academy and Lara. Their business model is slightly different but equally fascinating. They are playing the volume game. They operate a high-throughput, low-cost model that has already generated over $15 million in signing bonuses. They understand that baseball is a numbers game. Not every kid is going to be a superstar, but if you can produce a consistent stream of reliable, high-floor players, you can build a massive revenue base. They are essentially the manufacturing plant of this industry, churning out quality components for the global baseball machine. And we can't ignore the urban hubs like the Salas Baseball Academy in Caracas. They are tapping into the dense population centers, finding athletes who might have been lost to the streets, and giving them a structured pathway to professional baseball. They are attracting foreign investment because smart money knows that the talent density in Caracas is unmatched. But here's the part that really sells the narrative. You have to visualize the reality of this. We are talking about kids training on fields where the grass is patchy, the fences are falling down, and the equipment is held together with tape. Yet these same kids are landing life-changing contracts. It creates a jarring visual contrast that defines this entire market. You see a prospect taking ground balls on a dirt patch that looks like a vacant lot, and then cut to him holding a check for $2 million. That gap between the poverty of the infrastructure and the wealth of the contract is where the profit margin lives. The investors who bridge that gap are making returns that you just don't see in traditional real estate or stocks. This is the survival of the fittest economics in action. The crisis stripped away the luxury, but it left the raw talent, and it turns out the talent is what the market pays for. So we have the stories and we have the system, but now we need to do the accounting. I promised you a $500 million figure, and I want to show you exactly how the math works. This isn't one single pile of cash. It is 4 distinct revenue streams that flow together to create this massive underground economy. The first stream is the most obvious one, signing bonuses. Based on the 2026 projections and the current spending caps, we are looking at roughly $50 to $100 million annually entering the country purely through initial contracts. This is the seed money of the industry. When a team drops $5 million on a Luis Hernandez, or $2 million on a shortstop from Marquez, that money hits the Venezuelan banking system immediately. It buys houses, it buys cars, and it funds the next generation of training. This is direct foreign investment with zero strings attached. The second stream is academy fees and infrastructure. This is where the reopening comes into play. As stability slowly returns and the independent sector proves its worth, money is flowing back into facilities. We estimate this sector creates between $20 and $50 million in economic activity. You have parents paying fees, investors upgrading weight rooms, and the slow return of MLB operational dollars. Every time a facility reopens or expands, it requires construction, maintenance, and staff. It's a secondary economy built entirely to support the talent factory. Then we have the third stream, agent cuts. This is the Buscone tax. Standard agent fees in the US might be 4 or 5%, but in this unregulated, high-risk market, the cuts are significantly higher. We are conservatively estimating that agents and trainers act as a clearinghouse for $25 to $50 million a year. Remember, these guys take on all the upfront risk, so when the payoff comes, they take a massive slice of the pie. This capital doesn't leave the country, it gets reinvested into finding the next prospect. It creates a self-perpetuating cycle of investment. But the fourth stream is the whale. It's the one nobody accounts for in the official baseball reports. Remittances. You have hundreds of Venezuelan players currently active in the MLB and the minor leagues. These guys are earning dollars in the US, and they are sending a significant portion of that cash back home to support their families. When you aggregate the salaries of superstars like Altuve and Acuna with the hundreds of minor leaguers, you are looking at $200 to $300 million flowing back into Venezuela every single year. This is the diamond pipeline. The crisis weeded out the inefficiencies and forced the market to become lean, but the output, the actual cash flow, is stronger than ever. When you add up the bonuses, the infrastructure spending, the agent fees, and the massive remittance flow, you easily clear that $500 million mark. And here's the kicker. This decentralized model is actually more profitable for the local economy than the old stable system. In the old days, MLB teams kept the profits. Now the Buscones, the families, and the local businesses keep the money. The collapse didn't destroy the industry, it just transferred the ownership to the people on the ground. The ultimate irony is that Venezuela's collapse didn't stop the money, it actually supercharged the efficiency of the entire system. This market didn't just survive the ashes, it built a $500 million empire directly out of them. It proves that even in total chaos, value always finds a way to surface. If you want more deep dives on the hidden economics of the sports world, make sure to hit that subscribe button for Revenue Racers right now.